I know what you're thinking. How is a VP at Microsoft going to teach me anything about content? Well, first of all, don't sleep on my boy Scott because he's accumulated 700,000 followers across all of his platforms. But this episode is more than just growing on content. It's about how to do it sustainably. How do you follow your passions? How do you make work into play? That's something that Scott has mastered. He's a great family man. He's great to work with. He is always pursuing his passions. And honestly, to the outside world, it looks like he's doing a billion things, but he's just being himself. And this is the man that I aspire to be because he doesn't do anything below 110%, and he's always passionate, high energy. And honestly, I think this will take away not only life lessons, but lessons to be able to grow sustainably on social media, doing the things that you love. So I'm gonna stop yapping and I'm gonna let y'all be able to listen to Scott, and I'll catch you guys in the video. All right, let's go. I'm super excited to have my boy Scott in here, VP of Developer Relations at Microsoft, nearly around 777,000 across all his platforms, and I'm lucky to call him one of my mentors. And funny story is, I was actually terrified to meet him the first time we met. At first I asked him, I was like, "Hey man, can you meet me for 10 minutes?" And I had this whole image of like what a VP would be like, and this total crazy fear guy. And then all of a sudden we came in and he was the coolest guy out there. And so thank you so much for being on here and being open to doing this with me. I'm such a rookie at this game, so I'm trying to learn how to break this down. Thank you.
No, man, I appreciate that. That was the most hype intro I've ever had. That was cool.
Hey man, I try to keep it up with the energy. But today I want to bring you on because I'm trying to collect all these youngins to kind of help them be the next generation of innovators. And the thing I want to focus on, and the thing that you've mastered, is honestly personal branding and learning how to build, and honestly building a community. And so I want to really dissect this problem space, and because I think it's important for young people to build their brands, even if they're not wanting trying to be like a face of something, even how to think about building a community for their products or anything they want to innovate. But one thing I really, really want to focus on, and we've talked about this before, is your love for content and your love for teaching. And why did you start it? Did you do it for the love of teaching? Or like what was the reason behind getting into it? You have a nice cushy job, you got a great family and kids. Like, why start content and add more to your plate?
Um, there's this there's this like analogy, the story that I tell, so I'll abuse you with it. There are the people that knock on your door to convert you to their religion,
Mm-hmm.
and they like kind of rap on the door and they're like, "Hey, have you heard the news? Have you heard the news?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm good."
Yeah,
I
yeah.
used I used to tease them in my mind. I used to be like, there's jokes about them. You think about like, those crazy people. I'm not converting to your silly religion, whatever religion that is, non-specific religion. But then as I got older, I started to appreciate how cool is it that they're so geeked about their thing that they are knocking on strangers' doors.
Yes, sir.
Like
Okay.
if you had a thing that you're so excited about that you can't not knock on someone's door, that I realized that was me. So when I was in my mind picking on these people, I was realizing I was actually picking on myself because I'm like, have you heard the news about 3D printing? Have you heard the news about Raspberry Pis? Have you heard the news about the cloud? I've been doing that at family dinners and random people in line at Starbucks for the longest time. So who am I to go and, knock the hustle?
I mean, I do the same thing too. I mean, I love startups. I know you saw my intern
Yeah.
presentation
Yeah. I see
earlier,
your
and
TikToks too.
and I love talking about all that stuff because whenever I talk to people, they're like, "Oh man, bro, this guy again with the startups." Like, and then finally now I'm just trying to find that community and everything. But one
Well,
thing,
you have this infectious enthusiasm, and like I've been called toxically positive. I could see where someone might call you a bit of toxic positivity.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Maybe like you got to be one notch below the toxic part, right? Like just being Ted Lasso
yeah,
about
yeah.
everything that you approach in life is a healthy thing to do. So when you said, "Well, how do I, why would I add content to my list of stuff?" It's like, well, why wouldn't I? Like, I'm so stoked about all this stuff. I want to have people have the same feeling of power that I feel like I have
Yeah, yeah,
because I've talked about this offline, but there's power is and the feeling of being empowered. Uh, there's privilege within that, and there's age and sociological and money and all that kind of stuff.
yeah.
But real power comes from the ability, in my mind, to build stuff.
Oh,
And a lot of
100%.
people who feel disempowered actively it might be that they don't have access to capital, they don't have
Hmm.
access to the physical objects that they need. But software and the internet are the lowest bar to power that
Yeah.
one can get.
Yeah.
So have you heard the news about, right? So that's where I'm coming from. I
I
want people to
mean,
feel powerful.
that's why I love tech so much, because I mean I started out, I don't know if you've heard of like the scratch coding, like when I was like younger, in the library. My dad was just like, hey, I'm gonna go read a book, and then I would just sit there and I would just try to make those scratch games. And dude, it's just so awesome that you can make something that can touch so many people, and that's why I want to showcase it to everyone. But the biggest thing that I struggle with making content is this like kind of like fear of like, the people that are not necessarily super passionate about me, and like the people in my life that might see it and poke fun at me and everything. Did you ever have that fear when you started making content and being like, oh man, what is Scott doing, what is like,
Mm,
and how did you deal with that if you did?
it's funny. I don't mind if people are have a problem with the tech that I talk about, or they disagree with some of the code that I write. The two kinds of haters that I'm the most afraid of, and I say
Hmm.
that in air quotes, are if you bump into the wrong side of the internet, like the mean, just awful people,
Yeah.
and they're just going to be a hater because they don't like your lifestyle, they don't like your color, or they don't like whatever about you, and then I don't like, that's not cool, that's not my audience. And if
100%.
they roll up at your party, then it's like, okay, who invited these dudes?
Yeah.
That's one aspect. And then the only other one that I didn't really like, which I bump into a lot, there's an entire subclass of people on the internet whose entire job or entire interaction model with the internet is things that never happened. So
Hmm.
let's say a thing happened to you,
Yeah.
and you go to the car and you sit in the parking lot and you say, I'm at Walmart and this freaking thing just happened. Da, 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 da. And then your comments are flooded with things that never happened for 100, Alex. It's like there's a whole group of people. That's what their internet is just saying. So I actually had a really popular Twitter called
Yeah.
Overheard at Home
Okay.
that was just crazy stuff that my kids would say. And you know my kids,
Yeah.
and you know they say crazy stuff. So I could show you this Twitter. It's private now, and I could show you crazy that my kids have said since they were 7.
Yeah.
Every single one of those things was replied to with never happened. Like, why are you making this up for engagement? So when the
Wow.
internet stopped being fun and then the haters were just out there saying never happened, I
Yeah.
find that extremely irritating because here's an example. My 16-year-old is alternating between a iPhone and a flip phone.
Yeah.
So I had a viral TikTok where I explained how we bought this $45 flip phone, and I put all my MP3s on it from Napster,
Yeah.
and now he uses it for school, and then he has his iPhone on the weekends, and he has this on the, and everyone's like, never happened, and I'm like, he's in the other room, like he literally bought this for 45. Like he asked me to here's the phone, like,
Yeah.
oh, you just made up that whole story, you made up the whole kid, you made up the whole whatever. That's the part of the internet that I'm afraid of. But as far
Yeah.
as you don't like my coding skills, yeah, okay. I love that for you.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think because like I want to put some of my opinions out there, and I want to say that like I really think personal branding is super important in today's day and age, especially for young people that are
Mm.
trying to, break into these big places, break into tech and try to be an innovator and all that. But what do you think of the importance of personal brand for a young innovator early in their career, trying to figure things out? Because I not only think it's great to showcase the work, but it's also great to start, you learn better by trying to teach other people what you just learned. That's what I'm trying to do with this podcast. That's what I'm trying to do, with everything. Like I'm trying to do developer vlogs pretty soon where I just kind of showcase me trying to build stuff and just go from 0 to 1. I mean, what is your thoughts of personal branding for a young innovator overall?
5 years ago, I would tell you a different thing than I would today because I feel like the younger generation, the generation that there's the generation of young person that saw Instagram as an example
Yeah.
come to fruition, and then there's the the people for whom Instagram was always existing.
Yeah.
For the people for whom it always exists, they are not recognizing that Instagram is algorithmically designed to make you feel bad about yourself. It is
Wow.
algorithmically designed to show you people doing better than you. And for some people, that's a motivator.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw that dude on a private jet. I'm going to get a private jet. But for 99% of people, it's like, oh, I'm never going to have that.
Okay. Wow.
And that means that people think about their personal brand rather
Yeah.
differently. You have 13 and 14-year-olds who think a personal brand matters. It doesn't. You're fucking
Mm.
13.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
So for my son, he's 18. He remembers when there wasn't an Instagram. He didn't care. He didn't have a personal brand.
Yeah.
Okay. But then you get somebody who's 13 now and they're listening to this show and they're like, oh yeah, I got to think about your personal brand. You need to think about this is how I phrase it. I don't like the term personal brand. You need to
Yeah.
think about who you want to be. And if the person that you're putting out there is aspirational and representational of who you want to be,
Yeah.
because if you're a dick on the internet, they're going to find you and it's going to affect your college life. It's going to affect your high school life.
Oh,
So
100%.
be your best person when nobody's looking and when everybody's looking,
Exactly.
and do that consistently over time.
Yeah. 100%. And I mean, does that come into play? So let's go when you were let's dive like double clicking when you were saying just be yourself. Try to just be 100%, be your best version of yourself. Does that come into play on how you think about content and how you think about what you're going to post out there? Is it just what your wild curiosity is, or are you strategically
Yeah.
planning like I need to get this audience and I want to get this audience connected and this is what I'm going to do that? How do you think about content?
There was a joke I used to tell that was like when I did stand up, but it was like the
You did
audience.
stand up?
Yeah, yeah. The,
I
the,
did not know that.
the audience for this content is basically men my age who are me,
Yeah.
are are the people that are most interested in what I have to say. So it's an increasingly small audience, right? It's just basically me.
Yeah.
I think that if you watch someone's content, you can tell whether or not it's curated for, like, they're a mommy blogger, or they're a 3D printer person, or they're a founder. But I think that the people that are the most interesting are the people who have 3 or 4 things.
Hmm.
Like, there are interesting things about you that are not just tech and being a founder.
Yeah.
But people are less likely to talk about those things because they're worried they're going to alienate their audience.
Yeah.
F your audience. It's who you are, right?
100%.
So, hey, it's political right now. So I retweet a couple of things and everyone's like, oh, stick to tech. No, I'm not going to stick to
This is
tech
who
because
I am.
I am a fully formed human being. And if you look at my Instagram, you look at my Twitter, you look at all my different things, it's last week I saw Alien Romulus. I retweeted some political stuff. I listened to NPR. I put out a .NET and C# video. Like, I did some 3D printing. Like, like, that's me. If more than 50% of those things are interesting to you, I encourage you to follow me.
Yeah.
If those things are not, this is not an airport. You do not need to announce your departure.
Yeah. And I love the fact that in a way what you're saying or how I'm taking it is that you are your niche. Like, you know how everyone's like, "Oh, find your niche," but
You
you are
are your
your
niche.
niche. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah.
for me, I'm all over the place. Like I like fashion. I had a stint where I was doing fashion internships, and then I got into tech, and I started doing tech stuff, and then I was like, "Oh, I love like investing in venture capital. I love this stuff. I love products." I was like, but then that's who I am, and I feel like when I was growing brands, and I don't want to tell you this like indigo, it was like growing my fashion brands. I've grew like 2 fashion brands in the past, and people that I worked with always was like, how do we chase virality? How do we chase virality? But the most success that I got was when I wasn't thinking about virality, but I was thinking like, oh, like what's cool about building a fashion brand? So I showed the behind the scenes, and it was nothing sexy. It was like me figuring out how to put blanks together and all that. But that was the thing that went viral when I wasn't trying to go viral. I felt like when I was trying to go
Yep.
viral, that's when everything just crashed and
100%.
burned. Because it's not 100% me, and it's hard to sustain that. You feel
Yeah,
me?
yeah, yeah.
And
And it also, it makes it not fun if you, like, this is the other thing, right? You have to make it effortless. And if it looks like you worked super hard, you'll be sad if it doesn't work out because you have high expectations. I'm not a daddy blogger, and the flip phone thing popped.
yeah.
Right. And it popped. But now, do I do an exclusively flip phone content? Like, no. Right. I printed a Mandalorian helmet on my 3D printer and people lost their minds. And I got a bunch of followers from that. Am I now a 3D printer dude?
Yeah.
Am I like a wise old man? Am I supposed to go on walks now and talk about how I parent my kids?
Oh,
I don't want to pick a niche. I just want to be me. The problem is you have to ask yourself what your goal is.
yeah.
And this is a thing that I am challenged with on, people I know and people on my team. Why are you putting blank out there?
Mm,
What is your reasoning? For a lot of people, the internet, social media, TikTok, Reels is their third place. You're familiar with the theory of the third place?
I haven't heard of the third
Okay.
place.
So this is a theory,
Mm-hmm.
and I believe in it, but it's a theory. In order to be a healthy and well-formed, mentally present, intact human, you need three places. You need home, work, and a third place.
Yeah.
So that can be home, work, and church, home, work, and your weekly poker game,
Yeah.
home, work, and like the bars from Cheers, where you
Yeah.
like everybody knows your name, or home, work, and your favorite Starbucks, right? You need a third place. The third place is disappearing because people don't want you loitering, people don't want you hanging out, people don't talk to their neighbors anymore, nobody goes to the mall.
Yeah.
So now you've just got home and work. So then home and work have collapsed into one place. So now home, work, and the third place are you in your house on the internet.
Yeah.
When you're at home, you watch Netflix. When you're at work, you're on Teams and Zoom. And when you're in the third place, you're yapping on TikTok Live.
Mm-hmm.
The theory that I have is that is not healthy.
Yeah.
That's not
Okay.
healthy. It's not normal. It's not healthy. And it's changing who you are. And a lot of the malaise and the sense of things are wrong and I don't know why I feel bad.
Yeah. And
Like I saw
so,
this, I saw this meme I sent to my son, who you know, which
yeah.
was, I feel really awful. I don't know why. Oh wow, did you drink some water? No. Did you go outside? No. Did you get up? No. Did you just rock? Yes. Like, gosh, I don't know what it could be that would cause. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I clown on my brother all the time because he was in here not too long ago. He actually saw seen your TikToks and was asking me, he's like, "Can I say hi to Scott?" And I was like, "Yeah, you can later. Just let me film this with it." And then I was like, but he sometimes will just be doom scrolling, and like my brother's an active kid and he's an ambitious kid, but I'm like, bro, this is why you feel like you didn't accomplish anything because you get stuck in like you're watching somebody like say like these random memes that
I
don't
want you
serve
to
you.
tell him that. I want you to use my line again. It's algorithmically designed to make you feel bad about yourself.
Yeah.
The trick is that they want you to believe that the next reel is the one that's going
Is
to
the
change
one that's
everything.
gonna hit. Yeah. And
It's not. It is not. It cannot, by
that's
definition.
that's why I'm addicted to like creation. I think it's great to put things like, create things and to like just try to do something, spend your free time doing something.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why like I like creating content. And it sounds kind of backward. I like creating content because I feel this act of creation and I
Mm-hmm.
try to make it where it's like you're learning something that will allow you to get off of whatever I'm on and go build something, go do the next thing.
Yeah. So I believe, and I've told this to my 16-year-old, that it's about a balance. What is
Yeah.
your consumption to creation balance? Like
Yeah.
my 18-year-old wants to make cartoons, make anime. So he needs to have a reasonable amount of anime consumption.
Yeah.
But if anime consumption turns into just rot, which is like a thing that
Yeah.
people are now glamorizing,
Yeah.
then you're just like you're like those guys at the end of Wall-E that are just like in chairs and they're just like food is being delivered to them and they just roll around.
It's
Like you're not
crazy.
functionally doing anything. So consuming is okay if you also create.
Yeah. And I want to say like I want to hear your thoughts on this. This is something that I wanted like to run through because I think that content creation, and you've proven this, is should be an accessory to your life. You should be living life, and then
Mhm.
along the way, if you find something cool and you want to share it, that's when you make content. It shouldn't be this whole like this is my life. You know what I'm saying? Like I have to chase the next virality because that's like you said, it's unhealthy. Like I was talking to my friend and we are trying to do developer vlogs, and I was like, I want to make sure that I actually create something, like I actually build something, and after I'm done building it, that's when I will make my video. But I'm not going to make my video right before I start building it.
Yeah.
Because then you start getting this like mental masturbation where you didn't actually create anything. And now you're out here trying to tell people to go create when you haven't done it yourself. And then you feel this whole imposter syndrome altogether.
Yeah, this is the other thing. Like you'll find a lot of people that are like, I'm a founder. And I'm like, dude, you registered a domain at Panera. You're not a founder. You registered a domain at Panera and you wrote something on a napkin. Like
Yeah.
let's just take a break for a second, right? Like make stuff first. It's more fun to talk about stuff than it is to build stuff. But
Yeah.
the creating is the opposite of hanging out.
Yeah.
People hang out because of FOMO, right? They hang
Yeah.
out because of fear of missing out. Because if you don't hang out, what's going to happen is your friends going to be like, dude, oh my God, after you left, like a hologram of Prince came out and did all of Purple Rain. It was unbelievable. See, it never happens. That never happens. So you stay out too late, waiting for the thing to happen that'll never happen, or you scroll too long, waiting for the next reel that's going to change it all. Then you save it to a bookmark to never look at it again
Yeah.
because you never scheduled time to be alone by yourself and listen to the quiet.
Yeah. 100%. And
I have a
that
meeting on my calendar at 4:30, which is where I sit down and forgive myself for the previous week.
wow.
For
And
real. Like,
and
was this a good week? Did it go out? Did it was all right? Do I
is
what
it
do I
is it
need?
a reflection state where like, do you like write notes on
Yep.
there and then start
Yep.
reflecting on how you did that day and how
Yeah.
to be
My
better?
buddy JD Meyer has this concept called Monday Vision, Friday Reflection.
Okay.
So you set up like I'm going to think about how this week went. Was I happy with this week? Did I accomplish what I wanted? And then how can I forgive myself for the things that didn't work and try again tomorrow?
Yeah. Okay. Wow. And I want to steer the topic a little bit, and I want to be cautious of our time. And so I want to talk. I know that you've been super like I mean you're building content, but you're also building the community at with .NET and the developer relations and all that. How do you think about community building, and does that differ the way you think about content? Like, do you just try to like how do you really focus on building a place where everyone can start interacting with each other and like they feel like it's something bigger than them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's really been about feeling welcome and included.
Mm,
Like somebody was talking to me earlier about DEI and how the term is becoming weaponized and people are using it to mean negative things.
hmm.
And I just kind of keep going back to inclusion.
Yeah.
If you are included, you feel good. If you are excluded, you are making a conscious decision that that's not what we're into.
Yeah.
So then you have to ask yourself, if I'm excluded from a space, is it excluded for a positive reason?
Yeah.
Or is it they're haters, right? Or this is not my space. So I try to make spaces that are as inclusive as possible. And if you get that, the D and the E part of DEI work itself out.
Yeah. Dude. And that's why I like open source. Like, I want to nerd out on this a little bit because open source gives you they're like, hey, man, you can figure this out. And you probably, if you spend the time, you can come and contribute to us and we'll evaluate it.
Mhm.
And then you come back. And if you keep knocking at the door, then, the community starts like building up and they'll try to help you produce something or build. I mean, that's from my experience of trying to be in open source. So that's why I think it's so cool that you get to work on that every day and trying to create communities because I think communities are so powerful, man. Like
Yeah, yeah.
I just like, how does it feel? Does it ever feel like it's difficult to create that tight knit community? Does it ever like is there any time where you're just like, man, like I'm dropping the ball here, I'm dropping the ball here? Or
Yeah, like not the part that I always am naive about, because I tend to be very Ted Lasso and Mr. Rogers in my naivete,
yeah.
is I'm always shocked when like I guess that person's not my jam.
Mm,
You just like you meet somebody just like it's just not them. And then it's like that thing that your parents told you when you were really young. It's just like not everyone's gonna like you.
yeah.
And you like, okay, mom. It's like, no, they really mean that. Like, not everyone's gonna like you. Like, no, everybody loves me, right? No, some people just can hate you. Like, there are people online like, man, that dude's face is punchable,
Yeah.
right? And I'm always shocked. What? You don't like me? Have you met me? What the hell, right? Like that whole thing.
Yeah, that's facts. All right. Like
Like having to exclude people because they're hella negative
yeah.
is a thing.
Yeah,
Like
that's
you're bringing bad energy. So I usually call it stop energy
okay, word.
or yes and. Like it's think about it, like a community is a big group project.
Yeah.
And you're always the lead in the group project. And Ahmed, that if people just bring energy vampire. Here's 20 reasons why that's never going to happen.
Yeah.
Then I don't want to hang out with you. But what you always bring when you and I work on projects together is like, yes,
uh,
and we can do this, we can do that, right? That's the energy that I want. Like I have friends that are always down for some crazy stuff. So I will call them and I'll be like, "Hey, I got an idea." And they're like, "I love it. What are we doing?" Right?
I want to surround myself with that as
Right.
many
That's
people
what you
like
want.
that as possible, man. That's been every time, ever since I've been building, doing hackathons. I just want to be with the people that are pushing me to be like pushing the impossible. That's what I love, and that's why I love being around you. Because anytime I brought you a crazy idea, you're like, "Ah, it's doable. Let's figure out how we can get this to be doable." And I was like, "That's." I just want to thank you for everything. Thank you for being on here. And I want to ask you one last question before we part ways: is what is the number one survival guide for someone that's an underdog innovator trying to figure it out, trying to build in this tech space, and like trying to make it? What would you tell your younger self?
Oh man, that's a good one. That's a good one. Um, I am trying to figure that out. My younger selves are 16 and 18, and you've met the 18-year-old. Like, it's gonna be okay. It's probably not that deep. Take a breath, give it a second, ask yourself why you're feeling this, and then move ahead, right? Just slow down for a second, take a beat. That's what I should have done. I did a lot of running without direction
Yeah.
when I was younger. And I can see that that's a very common thing for young people. You have a meeting with yourself, ask yourself, why do I feel like this? Um, I think my older one gets that now. Like, he'll get angry, and then a couple of minutes later, he's like, "Yeah, I don't know where that came from." And I'm like, "Well,
Yeah.
let's think about it. Let's explore where that's coming from, because it's love or it's fear. Like, there's no other emotion. Everything you're angry. No, you're not. You're afraid of something.
Yeah.
That is where you're getting angry because you're afraid something's going to happen.
Yeah.
So like I would tell myself to just take a beat and listen to what's going on inside more than what's going on outside. And airplane mode works on the ground.
Yeah.
Uh, put
Yeah.
the phone in airplane mode. Boom,
I
done.
gotta do that.
Airplane mode.
I gotta do that right now because sometimes I pick up my phone for no reason, and I have this fear of slowing down. That's my biggest thing. Is fear of slowing down. But just where I came from, everything. I just want to make it so bad that I just have this fear of slowing down. But I'm gonna have to take that advice myself and
Yeah,
try to do those for the reflection time that you're recommending.
yeah.
But
Monday vision, Friday reflection. It's
Monday
at
vision, Friday
take a look at
reflection.
gettingresults.com. It's JD
Okay.
Meyer's blog.
All right, bet. Well, thank you so much for hopping on, man. I
Thank you, sir.
appreciate it. Just
Anytime.
us jamming out, talking about random things that we love. And thank you so much for always giving the time to me and being an amazing mentor. And I'm super happy to share this with everyone. So thank you so
Well, and I
much.
want to I want to take over your ending part here and give you your flowers and congratulate you on your presentation today in front of a whole powerhouse group of people at Microsoft. You did your final presentation, you crushed it. I was happy to be there. People were clapping, people were feeling it. I thought it was really good, and I want to just make sure that you give yourself the congratulations that you deserve for that accomplishment today.
I appreciate it. Well, we'll catch you guys in the next time and appreciate you, Scott.